Hello, Aaron and Emily, and anyone else who might be watching this later on. I'm basically going to be going over the following list of things in order for you to know how to create a new content series in our Airtable system. So this is going to also touch on how to edit some things in Zapier that you might need to for a new content series, how to start a new content series, and how to take keywords from Cluster AI and put them into the content series, and how you might do it if you're not using Cluster AI, which will be a little bit more intensive. But so let's get started. First, how do you create a new content series in Airtable? So to do that, you go to Airtable, and I recently realized that I have a new content series that needs created. It's just just 6 little articles that kind of spun off from a different content series because they were different enough. It made sense. So it's the Senior Scams content series. They were part of the Amy's Eating Secret Recipe Caregiving, but they were different enough that it made a lot of sense to do a separate content series on them. So that's what I did. So first thing you want to do when creating a new content series is come into the content series tab and push the add button, name it, put it under the correct status, like the topics are selected, and then add the opportunity analysis. If you have done a Cluster AI, you can see those are all inputted, and then you can also input some of this other information. You may not need to do it all, though. It can be a little extra if you don't need it. So just keep in mind that is how that works. Now, the next thing to do, once you have created the content series, is you go into the content calendar and you add a new, and as a matter of fact, I'm not even going to add one. I'm going to just repurpose one of these old ones. Our oldest one is in-home care. We are no longer creating new articles for in-home care. And well, actually there are a few that haven't been published yet, so I don't want to just hijack, you could say, this one. I will create a whole new content series. The way to do that is you will just want to duplicate this view. So you right click on the content series and you click duplicate, and then it's going to let you rename it. So we're going to rename it Senior Fraud, as I had named the content series here. Hit enter to save it. I'm gonna move this, go ahead and move it down because the lower ones generally indicate newer content series. Anyway, so it is now down here. I need to change one filter so that it filters by the correct content series. So it was filtering for in-home care. Now we're going to remove that and add the filter that's for and we can scroll down to find it. Senior Scams. Ooh, I named it differently. Let me rename. It's not Senior Fraud, it's Senior Scams. So right click rename view. Senior Scams. Now one has already been added. I actually am going to remove this because as part of the process of Zapier, it needs to be added into this content series. So we'll remove that, and we'll follow through and see how things are going to go. Actually, I might undo that. Let me just pause it for a moment. All right, so it has been mostly created. There's just one little thing I'll need to edit later on. So I'll just leave this right in here. But that's not generally how it's going to be done. So I will show you now the next step, which is what triggers the creation of an article outline. Now, in order to get that done, we need to first import the keywords or the topics into Airtable. And you do that right here under the roles group in Airtable. And I will go to the role import. So this is a running list of every single article that we are working with. And let me move myself over here. So there are, I have already done this for this article, but I'm going to show you an example of what you're going to need to do. So you can see that here is the keywords, the volume, and then the alternative keywords. Now those three pieces of information you are going to get straight from the cluster AI, what it returns, what it creates. So here it is: keyword, volume, and variations. So there's a little bit different names, but they're the same thing. So you can see in this process that I used, which you can use, I'll put a link to that process in the description of this little loom, and then also any of the other resources that I'm using. I'll put lots of little links in there so you can follow right from this video. But I highlighted all of the ones in green that I used, and so what I would do after I highlighted and decided all the ones I want to move to the content calendar, I would just go along and highlight, and then hold Control in order to keep highlighting and keep highlight. Oh, that's not the right one. So I'm going to actually hold Control again and unselect those. So I'm selecting all of the green ones, and once I'm done selecting those, let's just say I finished. I hit, hold Control and hit C or Command C on a Mac, and go over to the Airtable, and then in here all I have to do is select into there, and I'm going to hit Control. Well, I would hit Control V. I'm not going to do it because they're already all input here, but just to show you exactly step by step the process to use. So I've already done that for this next content series. The next thing to do with them, let me find, so for example, these are the ones that have not, this one, stop scammers. The next thing you're going to want to do is add the semantic words. And so there's a whole nother video on how to process the semantic words using text tools. But once you get those all processed, then you will have to manually input them in here. Maybe you can figure out a way to automatically get those into this column, but I have not done that yet. So you just manually input them in, input like the top 30 that aren't in that list of words that a writer wouldn't add into the article. Okay, so that's the semantic words. Then you do have to add the URL, but there is a super easy, simple way to do that. Let me show you. All right, so here's a super easy way to do that. Let's say I had added these, however many this articles in, and they didn't have their URL yet. So all I'd have to do is go highlight all of the keywords for them in this column, hit Control Copy, and go over to this this document, and paste them in here. And again, I will add this link in the description. So I'm going to paste them into this column containing the rest of the keywords, and then I'm going to use the find and replace feature. So all I have to do is go over to help and search find and replace, and I'm going to replace all the spaces with dashes. So you just have to put a space in this column, or space in this box, a dash in this box, and you've already have all of the spots that you want replaced highlighted. So then you just click replace all, and you'll notice that voila, they're all replaced. And you can click done on this box, and the next thing you need to do is highlight 2 of these. Now these contain a really cool formula that just adds this keyword onto amazeden.com. So you just highlight 2 of them, and then you can click and drag down to fill that formula in for the rest of these boxes. And from there, all you have to do is highlight the ones that were just created, hit Control Copy, and go over to the content calendar. And I'm even going to go ahead and do it because I'll just replace it the same thing. Hit Control V, and it'll paste them all in there, just word for word, so that you don't have to be doing a bunch of extra typing nonsense. Now, these next 2 columns, you're going to use a piece of something we've subscribed to called Through, and it's a SERP analyzer, so it's going to help identify the top 10 articles that are ranking in Google, what their target word count, what their word count are, and what their how many images they have in them. So let me show you really quickly how you can do that. We have a more in-depth video, but I'll show you really quickly. So you log into Through, which you should be able to with RoboForms if you have set that all up properly, and then you go and you can simply do a bulk scrape if you like, but I'm just going to show you when you've already done a scrape and what it looks like. So we're going to go to bulk scrape history, and we're going to go to this is the one here. This is the bulk scrape. So let's see here. Let's find the article. It's the article Hotline for Elderly. You can search right in here. Hotline for Elderly. So I'm just gonna show you this example with 2 or 3 of these individual topics. So I'm gonna go ahead and click it open, and I can see in the top 10 articles, top 10 web pages that Google returns, the average is 900 words. Now we might want to even look at the top 3. There's 1,300 words, and usually I typically try and just have put my word count at near the top, whichever one of these two is higher, just so that we can make sure to have at least that many. So I put it at 1,300 words near that one, and then we can see for the images right over here, there are 6 images on average for the top 3. There's 7 images on average for the top 10. Now, some of those images are images that are not going to be added by the writers because they're already like in the header of the footer. So typically I don't go higher than that number, but for this example, I put 6 in there. Let's do one last one. Let's look at therapy for caregivers. I think we can just go back here and we'll find all of the, we'll search therapy for caregivers and see what we have here. We have about 1,300 words on the top for the top 10 and about 1,400 words for the top 3. So I'm gonna guess I put it right at 1,300 again. Yeah, for 1,300. And then for the number of images, there's 5 average images on the top 3 and 11 average images on the top 10. So I went a little higher than 5 to 7. Now, this is the part where it gets really fun. Once you have completed adding the number of required images and the number of the target word count, which are honestly more of just a really good guideline so that the writers know how much to write and how many images to add so that it'll rank. We're not super stickler on these things in general. After you've added that, the next thing you're going to want to do is simply go down to this ID and highlight 2 of them, the 2 before, and then just drag it down all the way down, which will fill in with we're just going one by one. We're giving each of these articles an ID number so we can keep track of them a little better. So that's pretty simple. With that all done, you're basically done with what you need to do in Airtable. The only thing left that you need to do is add this into the correct content series. So for example, senior scams. But we are not going to do that yet because once we add that into senior scams, that's what's going to trigger Zapier to create the article outline and create a Google document for it. And so let's look over at Zapier to see how that works. So we have got this Zap called the Google Doc creation that we are going to take a look at. Now, I'm actually going to go ahead and create a duplicate of this Zap. because each of these apps works for one specific content series, and we can change it just a little bit for every different content series. So I'm going to, I think I have to go back to duplicate this app. So I'm going to duplicate this app and just edit it slightly for this new content series. There we go. So I'll just look at this app and one moment. All right, so I just renamed the previous one. It's article outline creation using secret recipe. I'm going to go to these little ellipses over here and hit duplicate. So it'll create an exact copy of that Zap. And we're going to rename it and change a few things on it, and we'll be good to go. So it's going to, we're going to rename this to, hit that ellipsis, hit rename. We're just going to change the name of the content series because this is Senior Scams. Now we open it up in order to start editing it. And once it pulls up, I'll tell you just a very brief outline of how this app works. There are 4 steps, and I'll tell you really quickly each one of them. So the first one is the trigger. Once a new keyword is added into Amy's Eden's secret recipe, that's what Zapier is looking for, and once that happens, then it triggers the rest of this. Now we're going to change Amy's Eden's secret recipe to Senior Fraud. That's be one thing that we change. But once it sees that new keyword or that new article in that content series, then it triggers a conversation in ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is, of course, our AI friend and sometimes helpful assistant. And it will create ideas for an article outline for the writer. Now we're still going to check those ideas, of course, to make sure that they're legitimate and they're actually what we want our writer to write, but it can be very helpful. Then it will create a document from a template in Google Docs and pre-fill that with all of the information we've added in the Airtable, so that it can just fill right in. You don't have to spend any extra time adding that information for the writer, and it simplifies the task for the writer as well, so it's easier for them. It's not as much of a headache, and they're happier to write for us. So after that, it'll just update the record in Airtable and add that article link into that record in Airtable. Now let's get into digging into the few things we're going to want to change. We're going to need to change this trigger. We're not going to go ahead and update that app right now because we don't need to. I don't want to break anything that's working. So the account is Airtable, and the trigger that we are going to change is so the base is content calendar. We're going to keep that just the same. The table is content calendar. The limit to view is going to change from Eden's secret recipe caregiving to Senior Scams. And then that is going to be all we need to do with that. So we're going to hit continue, and then it's going to go ahead and test it for us, but it looks perfect. Yep, it found some valuable information. So now we are going to change our conversation in ChatGPT just slightly. So we can skip app and event, skip account, go to action. And then this is the user message here. This is what really is, as we continue to go, we'll probably even refine this user message more. It's the prompt engineering that is really coming to, it's becoming a huge headline, and it's making a splash with the usefulness of AI. Some of its usefulness is simply determined by what sort of prompts you can ask it. So this is the prompt that we've been asking it for this last content series. Let's just read it through and see what we need to change. We'll need to change some of it. It says, you're a write assistant. I want you to help me create an outline for a value-driven article targeted toward the children of seniors who are needing special help. I want you to suggest 3 to 6 H2s and make note of how a senior caregiver can help. The topic is the keyword, so that'll be specific to that article. And the article should be about 3,000 words long. That comes from the link in Airtable. And as you go along doing new content series, you may want to change this significantly. I'm going to definitely change a little bit. Your writing assistant. So this is we're only going to create 6 articles with this, so I'm not going to ask it to work so hard for us here. Since there's only 6 articles, our writers are probably going to we're going to want our writers to do more, a little more heavy lifting here. Not a ton more, so we still want to give them a really solid outline, really solid ideas rather. So a writing assistant. I want you to help me create an outline for a value-driven article targeted toward the children of seniors. I'm going to change who are needing special help, who are worried about their loved ones being scammed. I want you to suggest 3 to 6 H2s and make note of how a senior caregiver can help. We do not want to necessarily need to know how a senior caregiver can help, so we're going to take that off. Maybe I'll say though, also please note so I'm going to go ahead and add at the end, please note any particular pitfalls that someone can fall into in regards to the topic. So we'll make sure to spell correctly. So we'll let that part, I didn't quite get particular. We will let ChatGPT respond to that and tell us what it thinks can be done about that that topic in senior scamming. We're also going to give it just a little bit more instruction. Your helpful assistant who is knowledgeable about what senior scams are taking place and how someone might prevent them. All right, so this part is definitely, I spelled that wrong, a little bit of an art more than a science. Just do your best to provide ChatGPT a prompt that it can I can really grab a hold of and give some great ideas to the writers. We're not wanting ChatGPT to write out the article itself, just to prompt some really good thoughts. And so so we're going to I've left these just like they are by default, and it seems to work pretty well. You can play around with these as you like, but you don't need to per se. All right, so that's the prompt that we are done doing. We're just going to double check that it is working properly, and perfect. Now we're going to, I think we don't need to change anything in the Google Doc. But I will show you how it looks if you are wondering. So what Zapier does is it takes a Google template and it fills in specific information. So I would, if we can go to action, we can see what information it fills in. So, in order for it, let me pull up the particular outline. So here we go. We are going to look at this outline right here. And if I right click on it and click edit, it won't create a new document from it. It'll just let us see what the outline is. So we're gonna look at the article outline template. Now this is something, if there's a significant change in a future content series, you can even change some of this information in here. But this is pretty good for a lot of content series. So it adds a little reference notes at the top and a blurb. Then it's going to add the editor guide, so of course the writer can see what they're being edited on. Amy Zine's voice. So if we were working on a new client, we'll add a different voice into here. And then the target audience. For some articles, I've also added into the template here an article outline, or sorry, like a content series template or content series ideas. This one is so short, I'm not going to do that, but you can do that, particularly for longer content series. That article outline material here is what they get. This is everything like we're giving them on their specific article. So anything you see with two left brackets on the left side and two right brackets on the right side is that's code for Zapier to know that it's something that we want it to add. So for example, this article keyword, Zapier sees the article keyword and we're having it input the specific keyword for that specific topic, that specific article. And so it'll add that in, it'll add the alternative keywords, it'll add the semantic words that you've added through text tools. And this outline suggestion is what is the reply from ChatGPT. It just puts it right into this article outline. Now you can even add more of these types of things as well. It also adds the word count and the picture count into this article outline. Actually, one thing I am going to add, no, I'm not going to add that, sorry. It was going to be who the article was assigned to, but that they usually get assigned after the article is created. So this is it's awesome, and it just really has saved us so much time. So that is what the article outline looks like. So the only thing that we need to do left is to make sure that I don't think we need to change anything in here. I'm just going to check it out because, yeah, it's saying there's a new version of the app. We are still going to just continue with it just the way that it is. And we are going to, in the upper right hand corner here, we're going to click publish to get this app running. We're preparing your Zap to go live. Now I will change, I can see that I need to change the name of it here. We're just going to, all right, my Zap is on. It's going to start running. So now I can create these articles with that Zap. We're going to add the name. It's not a copy of that. It's just article outline creation, senior scams. Go ahead and copy this to change the name of this first feature here. Edit existing draft. Anyway, you may not actually want to watch me doing all this because this is kind of boring, but let me pause it. Alright, anytime you edit it, it wants you to rename the version, so we're just going to call this V2 and hit publish. I shouldn't have to work real hard to change very much. So here we go. Let's just go back and make sure that it is running. And then article outline, senior scams. All right, so it is running. Great. Now let's go back to the article. Sorry, I'm jumping all around. Let us go back here into the content calendar. We are going to see it do its magic. It takes a few minutes. We'll go ahead and start. So we're going to go to reimburse scams online and into senior scams. And the elderly fraud abuse. We'll add all these into senior scams and see what it does. Two more up here. Now, I will mention there is one step after this. After these articles are actually created by Zapier, Zapier does not have access yet to group Google Drives, so it is actually just adding all of these articles into the content or the contact at Gmail at 10xflow.com. It's adding them right into their a folder in their drive. So we're just going to move them over really quickly to the content creation drive. So I'm going to go ahead and change from my specific Google Drive account to the contact account. And it is adding them into that folder called temporary. So we'll go to my drive, and it's actually right in here. So we'll just click on this temporary. Oh. All right. This one actually already needs to move to a different spot, so we're going to go ahead and move it to move to. Shared drives. Oh, wait a second. I don't have access to the content creation, do I? Let me see. All right. So we'll have to get the contact Google account access to the shared drive that is called content creation. But for now, I'll just show you where to move it to. So it's in shared drives, content creation, then clients, and then choose the client that we're on, choose articles, then choose the content series that we're on. That one would be the Amazon seed carrying recipe, and then just simply paste it in here, and you're done. So that is the whole process in a nutshell, or in 3 or 4 nutshells. So that should answer all these questions. What triggers the creation of a new article outline? That is when you click on the when you add it into a content series. Do I have to do anything different for a new content series? So the things you might want to do are change, edit the Zapier, and of course first you have to create the content series in in Airtable. So create the content series in Airtable and edit that Zapier just a little bit, creating a new Zapier really. what do we need to populate? You need to populate the article name or the main keywords, the article volume, the secondary keywords, the semantic words, the article length, the number of images required, the URL, and then just add the ID number at the very end. What is created in the article itself? Everything that you see on here. And I hope that answers your questions. Again, I'll be adding all those links. You might not see them right at the start, but I will add all those links into this loom so you can see them, and use this loom, reference it for future reference as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate that. Good luck.